secret agents to spy on state officials' accounts. It's also meant to curb money laundering and terrorism financing. What do you make of that headline, as far as that's concerned?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong. In strong governance systems where people declare wealth, you declare what you have, and there would be nothing absolutely wrong with checking the account portfolios of state officers to monitor movement of money that may be related to corruption. Because it's common knowledge that the practice of corruption, bribery, and movement of money is executed by those with authority in government offices. So if the anti-corruption framework requires that the officers who can monitor the account and declare the sources of funds, so be it. And this is a practice in countries that have brought corruption completely to zero. And if, for example, I was in Saudi Arabia, and all accounts are monitored for any public worker, the moment there is strange inflow of cash, then that is picked by the anti-corruption radar, and that account stands automatically frozen and audited. It's audited. You audit and check what has happened.
Right.
Now, Kenya Kwanza administration has made it very clear, and you've seen the head of public service conduct meetings and emphasize on the need for fidelity in governance and avoiding corruption. This country is not going to be governed, the economy cannot be turned around when the vice of corruption shall still be in practice and being abated by public officers. It is not going to work. The economy will not be turned around. And the president said three things. That is only three things. You go to jail, leave the country, or go to heaven on matters of gods and lords of corruption in this country. To me, anything that is going to deter corruption activities, including monitoring of accounts of public officers, is okay. It's what has been practiced in jurisdictions that have succeeded to bring corruption to zero. I was in Malaysia in 2007 on a visit when I was a member of the National Committee of Constituency Development Fund. We had gone for a benchmarking, and I learned that in Malaysia, anything to do with corruption is punished by death, death sentence. The Asian Tigers, they've used death sentence as a deterrent to persons involved in corruption. So really, when you talk of monitoring somebody's account, that of course may not be a very strong way of stopping corruption, but it's good to know that other countries, they've made it a capital offense.
But the question is there resolve to fight money laundering? That's the question. It's been a debate over the years.
It must be fought. Money laundering is a criminal action that will undermine and sabotage the economy. And money laundering is movement of illicit money. You know the wash. Wash is money laundering, and it must be fought because we must run a decent economy. What Chief Justice Mutunga said one time, that we are running a banditry economy. Banditry. That means we abet money laundering, we abet corruption, we abet different things. So money laundering is a criminal action that should be fought.
I remember this a few years ago. There was a team which was formed to look into the issue of money laundering and such kind of crimes. But there are two questions. There is that bit of structures put in place to curb money laundering, and another question is willingness. So the team is formed here, but now the structure is formed, but the question is willingness to curb the vice. Where do we have that equilibrium point where the structures and the willingness meet at that junction?
Now, you had the other day the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, talking about streamlining the coffee sector and removing the cartels and allowing the farmers to, through their cooperatives, to market their coffee anywhere in the world and bypass this group called cartels. Cartels are very vicious outfits, shadowy. They never come out. You don't see them. And cartels will fight every infrastructure of transparency. And they will fight back. We've seen these cartels in the coffee sector. They're trying to fight back.
Yes.
But who is on the forefront trying to streamline the coffee sector? It is the Deputy President of the Republic. But still they have audacity to fight back. We saw in the sugar industry, cartels fighting back. And with this one of money laundering, the issue of structures and willingness, they will always ensure that there are no structures so that they can have a good business environment for their dirty work. And when you see no willingness to implement, it means the cartels have taken control. These cartels can remove zealous Kenyans and zealous workers who are determined to fight corruption.
Okay.
They will remove you from office.
Exactly.
They will slow down the process.
Do you think the net should be and spread wider or cast wider? I mean, looking at the top government officials, what if it's done by some secret places, quote unquote, the common mwananchi down there, the handlers? Part of the structure also to cover everyone, because it's not only the top government officials who do the money laundering, quote unquote, but then now, don't you think that the net should be cast wider?
Yeah, all this is about determination in governance and leadership. And you had the president pronounce himself. And immediately pronounced himself. You saw the sugar barons withdraw the court cases that was stopping the revival of the sugar sector. All we need is leadership. Everything is all about leadership. Once the leadership has defined itself and pronounced itself, all these other networks will definitely collapse. You heard of an individual who was at the Ministry of Roads and Public Works who could not be transferred and was minting millions of shillings and running deals. That is how bad cartels have occupied strategic economic areas of interest in the economy. And it's everywhere. You get to every line ministry. They are there. They are everywhere. And so the resolve to eliminate this and run a governance where public officers and those involved and accounting officers are operating above board is the way to go. And I think this is a message that the head of public service has been emphasizing. So it's all about leadership. If given a responsibility to lead a small unit, do you abet corruption? From the smallest level, that of, say, for example, a school and a small government office, before you get to the top tier management level, at the different tiers of governance and management. Of course, and all this, because we are in a complex economy where the private sector interacts with the public sector, are we able to weed out and eliminate all this with determination, both in the public and private sector, and generally in our economy? So that we run an economy of equity, an economy of equal opportunities for everyone. Otherwise, everyone will have a culture of shortcuts, get rich quick, and we have seen in as a teacher, we have seen in careers of youngsters. You get the youngsters, they want shortcuts. They're thinking of getting shortcuts of how to make quick money all of a sudden. Which at the end of the day becomes very expensive. Everything is gradual. We need to strengthen values and value systems within citizens, and we live in a country that is with zero tolerance of corruption, and a country of opportunities, equal opportunities for everyone, and people know as long as I work hard, I'll be rewarded and I'll live well. All right. But in a situation where shortcuts are glorified, and those who don't work hard at all get it all, those who work hard get nothing, then it becomes a bigger complex within the society. But the question of fighting corruption in the country, we are able to create an economy of equity for everyone, and where every citizen is able to get the very basic services, and those who work hard and labor for whatever they do are rewarded, then we'll have a good economy. All right. As long as we are in 2023, inequality. We are in 2023, and we are still talking about the fight against corruption. I mean, money laundering is part of corruption. Even the next 100 years, people will be fighting corruption. The next 200 years, people will be fighting corruption. Then we should stop talking about it then. Corruption did not start yesterday. Then we should stop talking about it. It is historical. And look for other means of battling our own fights and our wars, you know. We should only be bold enough and adopt stringent measures of fighting corruption. It must be punished. You've talked about the Asian tigers. It must be properly criminalized. Exactly. You've talked about the Asian tigers, if you don't and the way they combat their corruption cases. If you don't criminalize and punish corruption very heavily, who does it will be difficult. Who has the power to do that? It's you and I. It's you and I. You've talked about the Asian tigers. It is all of us. And their powers and their legal strengths and strategies to fight corruption. And it's working for them. Why not us? Yeah, it is working. It is working. If I can talk about what I have seen myself, experiencing the Malaysian economy. We walked to the Ministry of Health, and a whole ministry, a whole building is located, say, 10 kilometers out of the city. And you have a whole government ministry, offices, and we have residence for the staff of the ministry. And they dress in uniform. You're going to the office, you dress in standard uniform. And you walk throughout. When it is lunch time, there's common lunch within the office. And that's a culture. And I established that Malaysia, there's a lot of food, and people eat well. And the problem in Malaysia is obesity, because there's plenty of food, and people are eating extremely well, because that's an economy that has been well taken care of. And when I look at the Malaysian healthcare system, there are no private hospitals in Malaysia, because all government medical facilities are ensured that there are enough drugs and there are qualified medical personnel. And the healthcare system is so strong. I don't think that even insurance, these medical insurance schemes, these insurance schemes is another form of money laundering. If you are unable to provide medical facilities and medical doctors and finance using government resources, then insurances cannot be an option.
Yeah.
That's where you see so much insurance, then it means that is an economy that has not established its healthcare system very well. And I looked at the organization of ministries, worked to the Minister of Education. It's also isolated separately, complete. In fact, the residential quarters, the minister lives at the top, and the rest of the staff, they live together up to the ground floor, and they walk straight to the office where they work. And you look at the work ethics, where they live and where they go and work, and the work ethics is intensive extra commitment, because every ministry has got a 5-year strategic plan.
Okay.
And every strategic plan is reviewed midway. And in the midterm review, you look at the gaps, whether it's shortage of funds, and if it is shortage of funds, they will mobilize funds from the private sector. And
let's take a break.
Strategic plan is a must implement.
Okay.
So other than the work ethics and the governance culture, corruption is criminalized. Let's criminalized with punishment.
Let's take a break.
Death.
And we come back.
Until and unless we agree in Kenya that we are criminalizing and severely punishing corruption. Then we'll continue talking.
Let's take a break. When you come back, you heard of Reggae Girls, the mysterious disease that struck over the week yesterday. By yesterday evening, 95 of the students were taken ill of a mysterious kind of disease that broke out at Reggae Girls. That is Western Reggae Girls, that's students, 95 of them. We'll take a look at that. And if at all you have some contact with them, what's the situation? You must be having a 1 or 2 from the Reggae. We'll talk about that when we come back with Mr. Association here in studio. Stay with us. And welcome back. Okay, so on the front page of the Daily Nation here, very quickly, Ruto reverses Uhuru 6 billion shillings telecom payout. Ruto reverses Uhuru 6 billion shillings telecom payout. The Kenya Kwanza government yesterday overturned a decision by the Uhuru Kenyatta administration to purchase a 60% stake in Telkom Kenya, just days to the 2022 general election, and directed UK private investment fund Helios and its Kenyan affiliate Jamhuri Holdings to refund the money paid for the acquisition. That is a story on page 7. You can take a look at that. Kenya Kwanza Azimio clash over IEBC and poll audit. President William Ruto and opposition leader Raila Odinga have once again clashed over the reconstitution of the electoral agency and a demand for an audit of the last year's presidential election results. While Mr. Odinga's team insisted on a forensic audit to establish the truth about the 2022 general election, the president's side said the Supreme Court's ruling was final. That is on the front page of the Daily Nation. And Mwalimu, before we took a break, panic as 95 students at Reggae Girls are taken ill. Mysterious disease breaks out at school. That's a story that is all over. Perhaps what do we say about this? If you have any information about this, it said that a majority of the students who are affected are in Form 1, Form 2, and Form 3, and the disease actually paralyzed their limbs, and the number rose to 95 after some of the 33 cases were registered. And these 62 students, as per the information, were admitted to various hospitals on Monday evening after they developed the illness.
If you look at that number 95,
right,
and who may require admission and medical attention, then it can stress a single medical facility.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not a light occurrence, however much the disease has not been diagnosed and established.
Yeah.
And I think that should be left to the medical experts to swing into action and ensure we don't have any student dying whatsoever. I'm sure the ministry is on this.
Exactly.
The CS should be on it, because we don't want to get cases like we had in the, was it Lugulu Girls or Butere Girls?
Yeah, Butere Girls.
Yes, where students died one after the other.
Mukumu Girls. Mukumu Girls.
Yeah, Mukumu Girls.
Right. Beg your pardon.
So I don't think it should get to that level. If indeed it's reassuring that The 95 of them are receiving medical attention.
Absolutely.
That's the most important thing. And I believe with time we'll be getting to the bottom of the truth, because you cannot do guesswork. If it is a disease, then they must engage in diagnostic steps through the necessary analysis and tests in the lab. So I'm sure this is an issue that will be managed by the medical personnel and the school administration, and with close supervision of the Ministry of Education and the Ministries of Health.
And the county government of Kakamega. Okay. What do you make of this headline? Ruto reverses Uhuru 6 billion shillings telecom payout. If you can, kindly.
We've just been discussing about corruption. When you have leadership that promotes deliberate blunder of national resources, then it's a wrong thing. Why was this payout authorized so quickly and towards the end of the tail end of Uhuru administration, without approval of Parliament and without approval of anyone, and paid out to individuals out of the country, the Helios and Jamhuri holdings, of course having received some billions of shillings. This indeed was scandalous, open theft of public resources. This was a classic case of theft. And if it is theft, it must be stopped. And those who stole the money must bring back the money. I think this is what Cabinet has decided, this is what the President has directed. It's prudent to protect public resources. You are aware, the last few days of Uhuru administration, they even spent a budget of 200 and something billion shillings without approval of Parliament. You remember the Comptroller and Auditor General being compelled to authorize withdrawal of 16 billion shillings within 26 minutes. You know, it is very easy to steal from the public if you are in authority. If you are in authority, it's easy to steal from the public. So the telecom saga was not actually normal purchase. It was a conduit to siphon money out of the economy. And that is money belonging to Kenyans. And that was digging more holes to complicate the economy. I remember in the financial year 2020-2021, an allocation of 1 billion shillings to retool teachers on competency-based curriculum was approved by Parliament in the month of June. And by early July, that vote had been cleared to TSC and 700 million cutted away by individuals in government. It ended up in pockets. It never ended up with the training of teachers. And in fact, if we are to discuss this misuse of public resources, those which are known to some of us and to many of us and to the media, to everyone, then you will feel very sorry for this economy. This economy has been very resilient and it has been under savage attack from corruption. So the President has responsibility to reverse and stop anything that was illegal and that which was against Kenyans. The President has the solemn duty of protecting the resources and the wealth of the people of Kenya. And if it was stolen, it must be brought back. Anything that was done illegally must be undone. And anyone who took away public money must return.
Let's talk about the front page of the Standard very quickly. Ruto, Raila, clash of ideas at dialogue meeting. That is happening at the Bomas of Kenya. Ruto, Raila, clash of ideas at dialogue meeting. Azimio and Kenya Kwanza yesterday differed on Kenya's future and how to resolve electoral injustices when they submitted their views to the National Dialogue Committee. Government side wants nothing to do with an audit of last year's election, whereas the opposition still insists that it won, and a review is needed. Very quickly and finally, on the front page of the People Daily, the Kenya we want, key political protagonists and civil society propose constitutional and administrative reforms that could radically alter the country's governance structure. One of them, as per the Azimio, they say that the last presidential election must be audited, IEBC service opened. Number two, political parties must be involved in hiring polls agency. And thirdly, Jubilee remains an Azimio party, poaching of MPs from opposition coalition, illegal violation of party discipline. Moving on, what did the NCCK say? They want the Review Finance Act of 2023 to reduce the tax burden imposed on the ordinary people. Number two, executive and parliament should stop disregarding court orders and desist from disparaging the judiciary. And finally, urgently appoint IEBC to avert constitutional crisis. And finally, what did the Kenya Kwanza submit? Entrench the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. Number two, establish Ward Development Fund to empower members of County Assembly. And finally, pass legislation to regulate the right to demonstration and picketing to bar political leaders from violent protest. It must have been a very busy day at the Bomas of Kenya. Sosion.
Yeah, of course, those are very extensive submissions. And those are submissions. But the issue of auditing 2022 elections.
Yes.
The team at Bomas cannot whatsoever authorize any form of audit by anybody of 2022 election by procedures of the Constitution and the law. The only thing they need to do is to ensure that IBC is urgently constituted. And once IBC is constituted, the IBC will audit the process of 2022 elections.
Right.
Yeah. So the question is, who is mandated to audit according to the law and the provisions of the law? It is the IBC. IBC is not in place. We don't have a chair and we don't have commissioners. And that indeed is an existing constitutional crisis. According to me, by now, the reconstitution process of IBC should have been concluded by that team if they are going to do it. If they are unable to do it, then the president should be left to proceed and invoke the provisions of the law and continue triggering the process as the current law provides to establish IBC and ensure appointment of a chair and commissioners within the shortest time possible, because there are two constituencies without members of parliament. And of course, there are a lot of by-election that is also preparation for 2027. And this question of audit, you cannot put the cat before the horse.
Yeah.
And I think what Azimio people are trying to do is to derail and bastardize the process at Bomas so that nothing is achieved and could cause more confusion and sabotage the government from orderly governance and orderly execution of certain important functions. So
what about the political parties to be involved in hiring polls agency?
IEBC should be constituted as early as yesterday.
What about the inclusion of political parties in picking of the poll agency? What do you call that?
Then IEBC will cease to be independent. We cannot go back and tell us that, we did the IPPG in 1997 and therefore it resulted in peaceful elections in 2002. Yes. 2002, the political ecosystem in 2002 is that there was more unity within the country. The social pressure groups in the country, trade unions and the rest. I was there myself and we were focused and we told the opposition, get one presidential candidate and we shall support that person. And they did it. So really,
looking at the entities, just a minute. Looking at the entities
after 2010, look at the curricular report, look at everything. After 2010.
Looking at the entities needed, we have got the political parties, we need the churches, we have got the legal fraternity, like the Law Society of Kenya. They also want their hand in picking of the poll agency. That won't render IBC independent.
It is not going to render IBC independent if you admit political parties to participate in appointment of...
How should it be done?
Already there's a selection panel. The selection panel determines who sits in that panel. And of course, you know there's representation of Law Society of Kenya, the churches, and that has been determined. So what the bipartisan team at Bomas should be able to do, if at all they have to pick and develop the criteria of establishing a selection panel. It is a selection panel that will conduct the process.
Okay.
And if they think the political party should be placed, should be members of that that selection panel, then I don't think it's going to render the constitutional independence of IEBC nugatory.
Okay.
And we have to look at the procedures of appointing chairs and commissioners of constitutional commissions. Those selection panels ought to be as independent as much as possible and should have no link with the political parties. IBC is not the only constitutional commission among the Chapter 15 commissions. There are many commissions: Public Service Commission, Teacher Service Commission, Kenya Human Rights Commission, and several others. And the statute or the law of the establishment of selection panel is always clearly indicated, and it doesn't have to be linked with the political parties. Having been the Secretary General NAT, I knew within the selection panel of the Teacher Service Commission commissioners,
yes,
we could forward a representative as a union, but not a union official. But we could identify a very independent representative.
Yeah.
So the spirit of constitutional commissions in our constitution was supposed to be independent as much as possible. Even members of the selection panel should not be partisan. If you are a leader of a political party, an official of a political party, then it will be construed that you will be conflicted. There's what we call conflict of interest, because you are creating a body that is going to determine election of the members of your party.
Okay.
Then the question begs, how many, who will forward the representation of political parties? Because there are many political parties. I think generally it goes against the independence. Let us guard the independence of the body, IEBC.
All right.
Because if we don't get an independent commission from the independent members of the selection panel, so that it leads to independent appointment of the chair of IEBC and commissioners, then we are brewing confusion around 2027 elections.
Okay, thank you.
So it must be above board.
Okay, let's take a look at something here that is actually on, people have been talking about Ruto's big gamble in Haiti. That's on the front page of the Star People Daily. Ruto's big gamble in Haiti. That is on the second page. UN gives nod to Kenyan-led mission to Haiti. However, Russia and China, who was abstained from voting on the issue, are concerned by rules of engagement and exit strategy. That is the issue here. And it continues to say that what are some of the grave issues that various players, including experts on security and international relations, have raised issues concerning the planned security mission in Haiti. Number two, that they include viability and success of the mission in a country lacking a stable democratic government. And finally, that of great concern also is parameters of the officer's investment, exit strategy, and their level of preparedness. Now, that is also fleshed out there for you very quickly as we talk on that is on the East African. UN Security Council authorizes Kenya, others to deploy police to Haiti. That is, as far as that's concerned, it's a country that has been riddled with a lot of protests for a very long time. And says that UN Security Council on Monday night endorsed the deployment of multinational security support, also abbreviation MSS, mission to Haiti, paving the way for countries such as Kenya to send their pledged armed personnel to the Caribbean country. The resolution 2699 of 2023 was endorsed by 13 of the 15-member council, including Africa's representatives, that is Mozambique, Ghana, Gabon, and now authorizes the deployment of a mission that had raised controversy on its legality in Kenya. But now, the issue is that it's drafted by the US and endorsed by Ecuador, and it needs the validation of all permanent members of the Council, including the US, France, UK, Russia, and China. A lot of questions have been put forward, Mr. Sossion, whether Kenya is going to strike that final strike where others have failed. As far as this is concerned, 1,000 police officers are meant to be sent to Haiti to support and Kenya to lead that mission. Your take?
Yeah, I think this is a big sacrifice to assist the people of Haiti to bring order, because the data that is out there is that the lawlessness in Haiti has caused a lot of human suffering. Children can no longer go to school. They are out of school in their thousands, and they are unsure about their security. It's a very bad situation. Bad as it is, the commitment by Kenya to lead multinational, it's not only going to be Kenya.
Exactly.
It's multinational. It's a
multinational force.
And the voting by the UN Security Council means this then is an activity of the UN. It's a UN mission in Haiti. And being a UN mission fully supported by the UN, then it is in the best interest of the people of Haiti. And this, of course, has to be delivered. Though we saw China and others did not vote for it. Is it China and Russia who did not vote for it? Or they abstained? Abstaining is a different thing. But from the literature that we are reading is that they are not opposed to the mission in Haiti. And this is the first time in the history of our country that the police, the Kenya police, are leading a security operation outside the country. It's the first time. We've had the Kenya Army doing very well. They were in Yugoslavia. They were in Namibia. They've been in Somalia. Now they're in DR Congo. And our security might has been tested. We have one of the best military or the armed forces, for that matter. And the police, we have one of the most professional police in the world. And our personnel leading this mission is a good thing. It's a sacrifice. Yeah, it's not an easy thing.
But the
question
no walk
is, in the park.
The question is how Kenya is going to tackle this. Many countries have failed, and Haiti have faced a lot of turmoil for a very long time. Criminal gangs,
police are trained to deal with criminals and lawlessness. They're trained. They're skilled. You and I are not policemen. You are a media person. You are trained in media. I am a teacher. I'm trained in teaching. And if called upon to perform a duty related to my training, that is teaching, I will be able to do it. And you cannot doubt the success of what I'll do as a teacher, and I cannot doubt the success of what you'll do as a journalist. And so why should we doubt the capability of our police officers? We cannot doubt. And they're not going to work alone. It's a team of multinationals and working under the UN. So I am sure with good coordination and good support, then they will be able to succeed. I think what is important is to support our men and women and all those that are working with from the various countries to ensure that order is restored in Haiti.
So what does it really mean to
We
Kenya?
don't need to fear how many guns are in the streets, how many gangs are existing.
Kenya is leading the multinational force, of course. So what does it really mean to the country? I mean, 1,000 police officers to be sent in Haiti.
Yeah, what it means is that Kenya has one of the best capabilities in security operations, and they can succeed where none has succeeded. Kenya succeeded in Somalia, where nobody could, I wouldn't say not even the US could have managed dealing with terrorist cells and of Al-Shabaab in Somalia. But our armament succeeded. So we've got the best, the best police officers, and let them go and try out there. And it's not a mission to test. That is not a mission to test. It is a mission to deliver. And not just to deliver, to ensure that there is law and order, and that even the police of Haiti can be trained so that they are able to internally contain and enforce law and order themselves.
Okay.
And the problem in Haiti is very complex. It doesn't stem from within. There could be external forces. Where are the guns coming from? And so those are matters to be dealt with. To me, I can only pray and wish our 1,000 police officers all the best and wish them well, and ensure that the mission in Haiti is accomplished. I've interacted with Haiti teachers. I've got very many friends in the Caribbean and among teachers, and some of these things are hurting.
Thank you.
Really hurting.
Thank you.
We need the children of Haiti to go back to school.
Thank you.
We need law and order so that livelihoods of the people of Haiti can be fulfilled in peace and in an environment of good law and order.
Thank you.
And if that is going to be delivered by the Kenya police, then so be it.
All right. Okay, that's, we can also wish them the best. Thank you as well. 1,000 officers to be sent in Haiti. The president delivered his speech and said that he's okay with the decision. That was also sanctioned by the UN. Kenya is a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council. We are waiting to see how this is going to be. They have got a 1-year mandate to be in Haiti to restore order in that troubled Caribbean country. All right, my name is Victor Lo. Thank you so much for joining us. Walimu Wilson Sosion here with the CS, as well as former NAT Secretary General. Asante sana for joining us on the show. An apology from the Deputy Governor of Machakos. He got a quick engagement somewhere. That's why he could not make it on the show. But you know, he's always here with us. All right, so we'll forgive him for that. All right, thank you so much for joining us, and have a good morning. Bye-bye for now.